Hey friends, welcome back to another video of Temple Trials. This is episode 4 and we are getting deeper and deeper into the temples and to the jungle. Yes. Today we are building something, actually I think this is one of my favorite kind of like entrances to a temple that we're kind of like building today. This is heavily inspired by Uncharted, like a little bit actually also Indiana Jones, with like you're having this entrance towards a temple where you have like these giant statues standing next, and you have like a little bit of ruined pieces surrounding it. And then I thought it would be cool to kind of like try to add some rain effects. We are unfortunately not so lucky to have weather conditions in Planet Coaster as we do in Planet Zoo, so we have to add them ourselves. And sometimes I kind of forget that we still have like just the rain trigger or like the rain effects, and also like the whole swirling cloud from the Ghostbusters pack, which I'm having very much fun with on this sort of build I'm doing today. So as you can see here in the background, what I'm trying to create and do is I'm trying to create this facade that's supposed to be like a mountain or like a rocky terrain, where this temple will be built inside. Sometimes it's easier for people to build the temple first and then add the terrain and like the rocks and stuff after. But in this case, I felt like I needed to like kind of feel like to build them equally aside next to each other, because then I feel like it would look a little bit better and everything would be more immersed and more built in to each other. And what's cool about this background is that it already has another backdrop from the other section, where before you go into the fire temple, we have that little section in the back. As you can see, you have some of the toppers from it, which kind of like adds a lot to that background as well. So it's kind of like a good thing for both scenes to get this build going. And again, I'm using this block ruin piece here to add to it, to make it feel like it's kind of like broken up and it's not really completely full. Something has happened and something still stands, and I'm really enjoying using all these new pieces. Again, using the Ghostbuster pieces temple. I feel like adventure and Ghostbusters are really good for these sort of scenes, these sort of sections to be building for this sort of a ride that you're doing. So I'm building this big ass temple, as you can kind of see here in the background, which were kind of like something I took inspiration from, and it's getting really good compared to how the others kind of like started out. I feel like this one was, I had an idea of this right away, and I feel like this was really cool to add to this scene, having this sort of rainy starter, because you are slowly entering or getting closer to the water temple. So having a little bit of a rain representing, I felt like was kind of a neat idea. And then we're gonna have two on each side, guardians, more like statue people that are gonna be there and standing, holding up. Some of them are gonna be a little bit ruined, and that's how it is. But as you can see, I'm trying some things, and it's not everything that works out nicely, because I feel like I wanted to try add some support there with the hands holding it, but it just didn't really work out. So we added the giants on the side instead. So really trying to incorporate a few other pieces into this build here. As you can see, some things are a little bit different than the others, but I'm really trying to add a little bit more of a variety into this, because I'm trying a little bit of a different color scheme, like a little bit more darker brown, and it kind of works. It kind of works, because mostly of this ride is going to be in the night, right? So the colors you kind of choose, it sometimes doesn't really matter at day, because a lot of it is supposed to be looked at night. So if you just have like some darker tones, and then you can kind of really play around with the lighting, and that's kind of like where the most important thing comes in, right? So as you can see here, really trying to break it up a bit, so it looks like some ruins and some stuff is really like taking over this sort of temple entrance. which I also really like. I really enjoyed building. Had a lot of fun building this guy as well. Because as I say, it's so fun to build broken stuff, and sometimes you have to build it before you like make it breaking or broken. A little bit like ruins, but in this case we already have the ruined pieces, so it's way much easier to just add them on and kind of like get a vision from that, depending on building a house that you have to destroy afterwards. So here you can kind of like skip that part and just kind of add the ruined pieces as you go, which I really like, and also makes it a lot easier, honestly, to build these scenes in general. And as you can see, we're kind of like trying to again incorporate it into the other builds on the side, because this is a very like tight squeeze for all the buildings and all the scenes around here. And since everything has to be inside, it's okay to build them like right next to each other, because you won't be able to see that when you're on the ride. So everything is going to be covered, but we still want the background to look nice. And that's kind of like what we're trying to do here, right? So before I'm adding the Guardians statues, we're trying to like to just add up some wall pieces here to kind of like close it off, so we don't have to focus on that. And that's kind of like my main goal here, was to do that. So kind of like get the backdrop and all that stuff away from here, and we can focus on the scene. So this was kind of tricky, because here I didn't want the statues to feel so majestic as the pieces we got for it. So I had to improvise a little bit here. So we kind of like added some rocks, and then eventually I think we do a little bit more about it, where we actually add a little bit more foliage, and some is broken up and etc., because it just didn't work as I wanted it to. You know, as you can see here, we're using this guy instead of of the normal statue, which kind of works. And eventually we change it too, so it looks a little bit more real, because you can see he skipped leg day. There's this guy. So we worked on it, and we found a way through it, as you will see in the video further on. But it was a little bit funny though, because as you can see, it doesn't look right at this section here. But we added more things to it eventually, and it kind of looked a little bit better at the end. See, we're kind of like duplicating the knee now, so at least it looks like it didn't skip, right? And at the background here, adding the rocks, and then we're breaking up a little bit of things so they're not like completely alike, and it feels like they've been here for some time. And you know, it has to tell a story, and I feel like we're kind of doing that by adding these guys on each side of the temple here, kind of like built into the terrain, while the nature kind of like has taken over the people here. And this is, as I say, this is one of my coolest builds, because I really feel like it has every element in this sort of build here, like destruction, ruins, guardians. Like, there's so much story told here, I feel like, and it's cool. It's really cool, and a scene can tell you a lot of things. And especially now when we're doing it for a dog ride, and a narrator is gonna be there as well, so it will look super cool, especially when we get to add the rains and stuff too. There's a little scene on the left here, as you can see. There's a little lake and stuff too. That's kind of like the water temple, which is supposed to be where you're actually gonna go into. So so that's why you're seeing that little scene on the left, which is also an open scene that I haven't really got further into, but I will show you guys that one later on in the project, when we're getting further into it. But yeah, breaking up more guardians here, as you can see, also saw in the cinematics. Very important for that, because these are the guardians that will follow, be like part of the story here. More or less, some of them are looking a little bit different. It's also my goal with it, so it looks like a little bit of a different type of guardians, like all of them: earth, fire, water, and ice. So yeah, it's really getting there, and I love these ruined pieces, how everything kind of like combines together very nicely. And that's what you gotta do with these pieces. It's so nice. They're so like versatile, and like they're just good at this. And as you can see, we have this perfect scene now, and then now I'm starting to really add like the clutter pieces, the foliage, the gateways, even more like trim pieces into the rocks, which is very important. So I'm pretty much just trying to evolve while I'm building, and like trying to see where does it need changes and what doesn't need. And you can see we're kind of like closing it off here with some more temple pieces, and then eventually we're gonna add the gate as well. And I'm really happy for this entire section, from going from the fire temple into this little mysterious thing, and then we obviously have this little gap of things we need to fill in before you enter this section over here as well. As you can see, we're trying to add a little bit of you know, that perspective, so it feels like there's a lot more like a facade kind of way, because we also don't want to have them to see that from the other side, but everything has to be covered in star panels and etc. anyways. But not this scene. This is going to be the little scene I'm talking about, where we're going to have like some rain effects and a little bit of water elements, because people can get a little bit wet here. You know, it is a water you are representing, so it's good to get a little bit of that in here as well. But going to the good part here now, putting up the foliage, making it really feel alive, this scene here, and overtaken by nature. And I'm really digging this, especially when we get the swirling cloud for the Ghostbusters in here, and then like putting it up the rain with some mist and doing all the colors as well. It's just really a super nice scene. As I said, it's probably my favorite so far of what we've been building, even though I really like the fire temple. It has a cool atmosphere in there. But yeah, before we get to the end part here, just adding some nighttime lighting, adding the rain, and then we're pretty much almost done with this little scene here as well, and can continue to the next one, which is also going to be a very cool build, and it's going to continue and transit after this build here, which is very cool. We're going to continue with the whole Guardians concept and build more bigger statues to represent them, but you'll see that in the next video. So yeah, friends, let me know what you think of this episode here, of this little scene here as well. Enjoy the cinematics, leave a like, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.